Well, well, well. Honey, an infant's favorite food. It goes in tea and desserts, and it comes out of bees. Bees? Uh-oh. Better stay away from this one, Nicolas Cage. Because of the digital restraining order I put out against you. I'm already slightly changing the angle here, so I only had some amount of idiot shadow in here.
What?
Sorry, Jung. You know, when I walk down the honey aisle of the grocery store, I often ask myself, does it matter? No, not my life. I already know the answer to that's in the negative. I mean the honey. Would a $40,000 bottle of honey not in the shape of a graceful and alluring bear really taste that much better than one with massive sex appeal that costs $4? I don't know. Maybe I will know soon. That's what's going on here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all the same honey. 4 honeys. 4 bags of Farmer Brothers Earl Grey black tea. 1 thermos of water. 4 identical cups. And 1 magnificent tongue to taste it all. And find out if, when you put it in tea, is there a difference? Can you tell? Is it a difference that's worth doubling the price? Let's learn. Let's see. Good and gather clover honey. Local hive clover honey. Essential everyday honey. Heavenly Organics acacia honey. Good and gather. I was trying to turn my head all the way upside down. That didn't work. Clover honey. This is the Target store brand. It's in a most alluring bottle. Kind of looking back at me here. The printing looks a little off. If this was a penny, this could be worth tens of thousands of dollars, but it is not. We've got a product of USA, Canada, Argentina, and Mexico, which I don't know if that means the honey is from all of those places, or if it just passed through a factory or a warehouse on the way through those places. I don't know. What we do know is that this is what the bees were drinking, were eating when they made the honey. Clover.
Ow!
Oh God. How do we know that it's only from clover? Wow, that's actually a fine question, you ding-dong. From what I can tell, it seems like it's a primary clover feast rather than a singular clover feast. Right, the locations of the hives are in places that mostly have clover, and not much else for the bees to get pollen out of. And so presumably, this is mostly clover. Will we be able to taste it? Unknown. This retails for about 36 cents an ounce at Target, which is the price metric I'm going to be using to compare these. The per ounce rather than the per bottle or Taco Bell hot sauce packet. Oh God, we've got a leak already. This is gonna be... I should have foreseen this, but we've got a sticky wicket. I'm not talking about the Ewoks. Local hive clover honey blend. Just like my dog. This is raw and unfiltered, like 5,000 terrible comedians that each have a Netflix special about how they're really sad they can't use a racial slur as a punchline anymore without facing consequences. Like the consequence of getting your own terrible Netflix special. Also raw. Like having sex without a condom. Like the Target bottle, we've got a clover honey here. Unlike it, it is raw and unfiltered. Raw just means there's been no heat applied to it in the form of pasteurization or filtration or ultrasonication, which is a real term for honey processing and not a Star Trek technobabble term that dorks feel smart about understanding what it means. So that's exciting. And the unfiltered part, and this may come as a shock to the stupid among you, it means it hasn't been filtered. so you're going to get more sort of fine particles in here. I don't know if we could see any. Maybe. It's hard to tell. Stuff like pollen, air bubbles, casual transphobia, and so on. According to their website, because there are so many varieties of clover plant, so many different species, each bottle will taste slightly different because it's a different blend of pollen from different clovers that came together to make this honey. I don't know how testable that hypothesis is. They got really close to suckering me into wanting to test that out and buy, 40 bottles of this honey and just compare every single one of them. But I'm not a billionaire yet, so I can't really do that. It retails for about 47 cents an ounce on Amazon. Also, all the bees are American. So that's fun. Essential everyday honey. Oh god, we've got a leak. Oh god. That's a disaster. We didn't get anything in the bottle, did we? Doesn't look like it. I got some on my fingers already.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a difficult moment for America. I, unfortunately, will be going back to Washington after my remarks. Secretary of Rod Page and Lieutenant Governor will take the podium and discuss education. I do want to thank the folks here at Booker Elementary School for their hospitality. Today, we've had a national tragedy. Apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
This is bad. Oh, hey, bug. Get out of here. You're gonna get stuck in the honey. This is the sort of... Oh, dear. Oh, well, we lost a spoon. Oh, my God. Everything's going wrong. This is the sort of store brand thing for a variety of stores, actually. Albertsons, Acme, Schnucks, and so on. Product of USA, Canada, Argentina, and India. So pretty similar to the Good and Gather stuff, except they've swapped Mexico for India, which on some level... perhaps that makes sense. They both do use cumin in their cuisine. Can't fault them for that, huh? It retails for about 37 cents an ounce. Heavenly Organics. Acacia honey in the little fast food ketchup sack. One thing to note right off the bat about this honey, when it cools down even a little bit, they're not so bad right now. This one is. So is this one. They get gritty. Which, I don't know what's going on there. It's concerning. I was stimming a lot with these little packets while I was doing extensive research on honey, and this one's very gritty, and I don't know that sort of raw and organic grit is the kind of thing you want in your sack. I don't think it makes for good slurping. Also raw, like a punchline for an ongoing joke, or not using protection when having sex with an uncooked canine. And organic. Whatever that means. I didn't know organic could be measured in percentages. I always thought it was a sort of binary option. It's just, it is organic or it isn't. Like, can you have something that's 50% organic, or is this just like nonsense? I can't stop. So good. Wild hives. Wild bees and wild times for the bees living in the... Oh my god, I can barely read that. Jammu region of the Himalayan mountains. So we'll see if this is as much of a scam as that sort of pink Himalayan salt that costs 4 times as much as any other salt because it's pink and it tastes like salt. We'll find out. We will see. We're going to see a whole lot today. Like the crew from Event Horizon.
Let me show you.
John at Horn Dog, New Jersey. Funky Ball? Oh, hello, Mark. I am confused how this is supposed to be acacia honey, though. Acacia honey, like clover honey, is a monofloral honey. It's primarily pollen harvested and turned into honey from one type of plant, in this case the black locust, which is a tree that grows, it's native to the eastern US, and really the only other main place that they're planting it is in Europe. And not the Himalayas. So I mean, maybe. I'm a little concerned, a little confused. I'm suspicious. I have my suspicions. I'm suspicious about the degree of acacia-ness of this acacia honey. Can you just do that? Can you just call something acacia honey even though it isn't? Is that allowed? I mean, they did it. Maybe it is. I mean, it could be actual acacia honey. I don't know. Well, there will be ways to tell. So acacia honey, it should be much more mild than a standard honey. It should be very clear in color, and it should be much more resistant to crystallization, which, well, I can feel it in this one. I assume that's crystallization. It could be something else going on in here. Like they could have packed this with some extra silica beads or something. But yeah, if this is supposed to be acacia honey, and acacia honey is supposed to be resistant to crystallization, it does leave me wondering about the level of grit I can feel in this sack, which is a thing many a lover has said to me during a routine medical examination. This one is about 66 cents per ounce, depending on the quantity you're buying on Amazon. So it's doubling the price of these two. Will it double the good? Will the taste flavors be doubled? Let me show you. I don't remember how he says it. I don't remember. I couldn't, in Event Horizon, when he says, let me show you, he says and I just said that was the sort of, let me show you. That was the thing. That was it. Okay, if I was only partially a hack rather than entirely one, I would measure all of this honey into these cups by weight. I would use a scale. I don't have a scale. I need a scale. I don't have one. I need one. I haven't got one yet. I will get one at some point. But, in the meantime, I'm going to pour it into these spoons, and hopefully the measurements are not so off by an amount so excessive that it will render this all more meaningless than it already is. Which is absolutely. That's the level of meaninglessness we're dealing with today. Alright, let's do it. Honeydome 2052. Commence.
Cette fois c'est décidé, tu es tout prêt à partir. Donc il est trop tard pour tenter de te retenir.
Oh God.
Donc depuis que tu la connais, le ciel n'est plus jamais gris. Donc je fais partie du passé, elle c'est ton avenir. Crois-tu que je vais pleurer et te prier de rester? Tu peux t'en aller dès que tu voudras. Ça m'est bien
We've got some pretty similar looking honey visually, except for this one, which is very dark. Not at all like acacia honey. You could see some grit in there. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's crystallizing. Yeah. Oh dear. That's not acacia. That's not acacia at all. They lied. So a little bit of an added benefit is we do get to review this Farmer Brothers Premium Earl Grey tea. Alright, I'm gonna say right off the bat, bad review maybe? Is this already torn open? There's no way I was responsible for that. That bag might be unusable. That bag might be ejecting some of its innards into that vessel. It doesn't look too bad in the, I don't know, that's not a particularly appetizing tea bag. But I don't find tea bags very pleasant looking in the first place. Alright, I'd say we're just about there. We'll do a little coffee style sip here. Okay, I can smell the honey, I think. I can definitely taste it. Okay. That's our baseline. Oh god, do I have enough words to talk about the ways honey tastes different? That tastes milder. For starters, that's something. We're gonna go back with a little more intensive tasting, but this is a starting point. This one, that tastes the most honey-ish out of the bunch. It's the sweetest. So far. Alright, let's look at this dark, stool-like substance. It's like unsweetened honey. It's the flavor of honey without the sweet. Which is, it's almost like not salty. I don't know. It tastes so not sweet that it's almost in the savory range. Or it's way closer to it than the rest of these. This is the complete opposite of what an acacia honey should be doing. Acacia honey should just basically only be sweet. It shouldn't have much flavor. It should be sweet. They are definitely not acacia honey. Heavenly Organics, you are a liar. Yeah, there's some weird, or some oddness going on in there. Some sort of like deep, maybe like, it reminds me of like a roasted note or something. That's odd. Alright, so right off the bat, this is just the preliminaries. This was the spoon taste, so it could get to be a little different. The differences seem kind of imperceptible so far, or not imperceptible. This does have differences. They're bad differences, but they exist. These three could be interchangeable. We'll get some big slurps coming in here from these sacks, and that might help us out a bit. I've already done that one. I've done that one so many times. Just combine the word slurp and sack. You know, like a testicle bag. Alright, let's go in for some... Oh god, the stickiness of this. That's a reason not to even bother with this stuff over sugar. It's all over, it's everywhere. That bottle kind of exploded a little bit when I opened it. It just shot honey out. That bear had a lot going on. Okay, so we'll start with the Earl Grey review. It tastes like any bagged Earl Grey tea. Maybe if I was comparing it to some others, I could detect more differences, but you know what? It's got that sort of slippery mouthfeel from the bergamot oil of bergamot, they say on the package. And it kind of reminds you of a tea. It's fine, it's perfectly fine. It's an Earl Grey tea. That might taste a little different now. The problem is these are all still quite hot. This is a reason also why I usually don't drink large cups like this. That's why I like the little Gaiwan Gong Fu cups. Because by the time I'm ready to drink them, they've cooled down a requisite amount, because water, the more of it, the more that's going to help itself stay warm. Alright, going in for this guy. Wow, okay. I may have bitten off more than I can chew with this. I gotta say, these three are... This one has a little bit of a difference that I'm definitely going to need the tea to cool down a bit to really detect. But it's not very extreme. So far, this leads me to believe that at least between these options, it doesn't really matter so much. Except for this one. The point of honey is to add, like, an element of sweetness in here to combat the bitterness of of a bagged black tea, usually. That's what people do with this stuff. It's why. But it's not really sweet. It's got a bit of a taste in there. I will say, thankfully, it did all dissolve. I was really... When I was pouring that in there, it came out so thick and, like, semi-solid that I had some slight concerns that I was going to be chewing on this guy a bit. Thankfully, I'm not. It tastes less honey-y than this guy, than the essential everyday honey. This heavenly organic stuff is quite... It doesn't taste like honey in the normal sense. Assuming that these are the normal senses. Maybe this is the normal sense. Maybe this is what honey is supposed to be. I really hope not. Yeah, it's lacking all of the sweetness, and it's lacking a lot of that. It vanishes from the mouth very quickly. I'm not a fan. I don't know what the point of using that would be. Alright, we're gonna do some, I'm gonna go back and forth until I can taste whether or not the clover matters. I'm learning also that, not only is this not the type of tea I would drink and not in the format I really drink it in, but man, I don't want honey in my tea. I prefer just straight up sugar. I think the additional flavor component does not, at least in this case, it doesn't really help it. I did add quite a lot of honey in, I feel like, or not. I don't know. I don't know what a normal add would be. I could have figured that out, huh? But yeah, not a fan. I think that, I'm not a honey person in general. I'm gonna say the essential everyday honey tastes sweeter than the good and gathered Target stuff. Hangs out in the mouth a decent amount of time. It's milder. It's less sweet. I'm tempted to just start throwing in adjectives because I feel like I don't have the language with which to describe the taste spectrum of honey. My sort of well-honed senses, my magnificent tongue that I talked about. It's more of a tea thing, I guess, than a honey thing. Okay, let's do a raw and unfiltered clover versus not raw and unfiltered clover. Oh, God. Okay, so I will say this is useful in the sense maybe that I don't want to just blame myself and say my honey tasting powers are inadequate to the task. It could just be that it doesn't matter. You could put cheap honey in here, or slightly less cheap honey, or not monofloral honey, and they all kind of smear together unless they're this Heavenly Organics brand that is not good. I will say, okay, less sweet on this one. It's less powerful honey flavor. It seems milder. Doesn't hang out very long. Doesn't like linger in the mouth. This one lingers the most. Oh god, this is a disaster. Okay, let's see if anything happens between these two. Yeah, this one, I don't know if it's a good thing. Maybe, maybe not. It seems like you're getting much more bang for your... I almost said a swear word instead of buck. That would have been funny. But I've got I've got rules. Self-set rules, the only kind that matter. This one gets more bang for your buck in terms of sweetness and flavor. Because they're not different enough that the fact that this is louder and much more prominent kind of detracts, right? Sometimes flavors, like the subtlety is what's part of it. That's part of what's important. Is that it's very delicate. I don't know that honey is where I want to find delicacy. There's a lot of dirt. Oh no, maybe that could just be from the tea bag. I hope it is. I hope I'm not eating dirt. I said I'd never do that again. I'm losing my mind here. This one's, it's still, this Heavenly Organic stands out the most. Oh. Ooh. Yeah, it gets, on the back end there, it gets a little like salty, astringent-y kind of thing. It might be that its lack of sweetness is not covering up enough for the bagged black tea that we have in here. And so the just astringency that's coming out of the tea that gets masked in all of these because you've added a sweet component that's not happening with the Heavenly Organics. This is this is the one revelation I'm having, is that despite being the most expensive of the bunch, twice as much as these two, easily the worst. Yeah, there's like a salty, like acrid note in there. That is bizarre. I'm kind of tempted to just like, I'm just gonna dump some of this on my tongue. Ooh. Whoa. That tastes salty. That is weird. That's really weird. Also texturally, very gritty. It's, you know what, now I definitely have to go through and just eat some straight up honey. Because I'm getting a lot more of the subtlety that's going on here. It tastes much more floral. It's still not very sweet. Oh man. It's floral. It's a little sweet. The texture is very off-putting. And that salty note in there is very off-putting. Alright. Let's eat some dirt. Okay, eating the honey on its own is much more illuminating. There's a lot more complexity going on in here than you would think just by dumping it in here. That's pretty good. There's a nice, pretty high level of sweetness. There's a sort of this very melange-y floral thing going on. Feels like there's a lot of different types of florality happening in that guy, in the essential everyday stuff. It really coats the mouth, hangs out there a lot. Obviously it coats the mouth. It coats everything. It's honey. Alright, let's continue putting spoonfuls of honey in my mouth. Alright, local hive. Okay. That is definitely different. That's like a deeper flavor. It's almost like a fruity kind of thing going on in there. There's still some flowery notes in there. I feel like I'm getting some sugar madness right now, in addition to caffeine madness and my general autistic madness. That's also quite good on its own. I mean, I would never do that again, because why? Why would I do that? There's not a good reason to. There's definitely a difference. Wow, good and gather. Okay. This is the local hive is less sweet than these two. It's less sort of bright floral than this clover honey. These two do taste different on their own. I cannot go back for another sip of straight raw honey. Well, that's the only raw one, but you know, well, except for that one. But we're basically ignoring you because you're garbage. You're terrible. You're abysmal. They're okay. It is good to know that on its own, honey does have it's a whole mess of flavors. There's a lot of different things going on in it, and there are differences between these. The problem is, what kind of freak, aside from me, just eats raw honey? Once it's in here, it is so tuned down. It's so subtle. I'm having to like force myself to go back in for these. My body is rejecting the excess honey. I don't think I can really taste that much of a difference. This one is just, it's slightly louder and sweeter, and that's the only thing. All of that complex set of flavors gets completely drowned out. Which, I mean, in a way, that feels like useful information for tea. For the most part, it doesn't matter, as long as you're not getting something unfortunate. I would take any of these three. If I really had to pick between them to put in tea. I'm half tempted to go for you because you're the most turned down in a way. Well, okay, if my sort of bank account brain is speaking, it's going to be that one. Because I could put the least amount of it in my tea and it would taste the strongest. And it's same price as this guy, basically. The Essential Everyday, same as the Target brand, and cheaper than you, and it's the loudest of the three. But I don't really like honey in my tea that much. I'm learning. And I don't think I'm ever going to do it again, unless I get a whole new set of honeys. When put in tea, I'm going to say, as long as you're not getting this, as long as you're not getting something that is darker than my stool, and is just grittier than my stool, and costs 10 times as much as my stool, then you're fine. If you're just putting it in tea, it doesn't matter. Lesson learned. You know, this all puts me in mind of a joke I heard once. What do you call a bee you can't understand? Alright, tack it in. Oh god, I gotta move all this sticky garbage back. That's gonna suck.